Hi, I'll be speaking about purchase price mechanisms today. Purchase price is the most important aspect in an M&A deal. Both the buyer and the seller are interested in ensuring a fair price for the acquisition. While the buyer wants to ensure the business is not overvalued, the seller aims to maximize compensation for their efforts in growing and running the business. There are two significant mechanisms for determining the purchase price. One, the lockbox mechanism, and two, the closing accounts adjustment mechanism. Traditionally, the lockbox method was the preferred choice. Here, the prospective buyer and seller agree to rely on past period financial statements of the target business to determine the purchase price. As the name suggests, the value of the target business is locked on the date of these financial statements, and no further true-up is done at or after the closing of the transaction. However, to preserve the value of the target business between the lockbox date and the closing date, which could be a few months, parties generally identify and agree upon a list of items called leakages. Leakages refer to actions of the seller that would extract value from the target business portrayed on the lockbox date. Instances of leakage include distribution of dividends, payment of interest or repayment of shareholder loans, and waiver of amounts owed by the seller to the target business. Parties may also agree permitted leakages and factor those amounts into the price upfront, such as the repayment of a loan extended by the seller. Unauthorized leakages will give rise to a buyer's indemnification rights. On the other hand, as the seller continues to support the business after the lockbox period, it may seek compensation, such as interest or a ticker for any value increase during that period. The lockbox method is considered more seller-friendly as the price is locked on the execution date, providing price certainty and transferring the risk of the target business to the buyer as of that date. It can also be more time and cost efficient. The lockbox method is useful in bid-based transactions and transactions involving exiting private equity funds, allowing them to upstream the amounts received soon after closing. In the closing accounts adjustment mechanism, the prospective buyer and seller agree to a tentative purchase price in the acquisition agreement based on the enterprise value of the target business as of a certain date. The value is arrived at through an agreed upon valuation methodology considering various parameters. In certain cases, the parties may determine an estimate of the equity value between the execution date and the closing date, which is then trued up based on actual cash, debt, and working capital as of the closing date. This method is generally seen to be more buyer-friendly as it transfers the risk of the business from the seller to the buyer only at closing. It allocates the risk between the buyer and the seller better and provides a more accurate picture of the financial condition of the target business, allowing it the benefit of hindsight. To protect its interests, the seller should look to include specific principles for preparing the post-closing accounts and clarity in the parameters, including its components, based on which the adjustments are proposed to be done in the acquisition agreement. While the closing accounts adjustment method is generally preferred by buyers in strategic and control M&A deals, this method can easily be used in a variety of transactions, including financial or private equity deals, business carve-outs, and startup deals. This method tends to be highly useful in transactions where there is a significant gap between signing of the acquisition agreement and closing, or if there are volatile or uncertain market or industry conditions, such as the recent pandemic. A point to note is that in the Indian context, irrespective of the method adopted, if one of the parties is a non-resident, then provisions of the Indian foreign exchange laws will become applicable. In the end, the choice of mechanism will largely depend on the profile of the buyer and the robustness of the target's accounting practices, as well as external factors such as volatile conditions in the market or the industry.